Check out this cool studio friend I got. It's like a little wire spider. I don't even appreciate spiders. This just reminded me of crafts I used to make with my grandma. So today I'm going to be making a set of mini paintings for an upcoming mini painting show on blocks kind of like this, which means I have to come up with at least 8 ideas based on some kind of theme. So let's give it a try. As for the plan, if you saw in the last video where I filled up this whole sketchbook in a week, and if you haven't seen that, what the fuck? So my first idea was haunted houses, which is something that I kind of want to do sometime. And then I thought about doing a special delivery part 2. And then I also considered doing one about my little art retreat itself, because interesting little things kept happening. Hence the filling of this whole sketchbook. But I really think that I am going to do special delivery part 2. So just to reiterate, in case you haven't seen these series before, hi, I'm making a set of small paintings, and so far everyone's favorite format for that is on these beautiful little blocks of wood. And how I do that is I will paint the image, I will cut it out, I will glue it to the block of wood, and then I will coat it with a cold wax medium to protect it from moisture and make it kind of water resistant. It's a really handy thing to do if you can't afford frames or don't want to use a frame, or maybe you want to mail it and it's too dangerous to ship glass. This is a really nice alternative to that. But first I gotta make the paintings. And I'm really behind, so I gotta make them fast. And I want to tell you why I decided to use this theme. At first I thought that this was going to be a safe fallback option, because like I said, I kind of wanted to do haunted houses. And I thought maybe I was being influenced by external pressures to make something that other people like, that other people might want to buy at the mini art show. And then I remembered, did originally want to do a whole little solo show earlier this year filled with paintings of this theme. And I guess because I fumbled that opportunity 3 times this year, I must have just forgot about it or gave up on it or something. But the special delivery theme, it was still calling to me. When I first did it, it was partially an excuse to paint transportation vehicles, which is something that I was really bad at, and combining that with gift giving. It was cute, it was fun, mixing cartoon and realism, but I also realized that in a small way, it was kind of a protest. A little backstory. When I was a tiny child, I used to actually be kind of outgoing, knocking on neighbors' doors and looking for kids to play with and stuff. And then something just kind of happened. Our generation was taught strongly about stranger danger. A lot of other kids were mean, so I grew up to actually be really shy. And one of my first jobs was working in customer service, and my mom would say that I would get used to it. I would become less shy the more people that I was exposed to, but it kind of really backfired because if you know customer service, people are just mean to you for no reason. And, coming out fresh to the world with really low self-worth to begin with, I felt worse and worse, and I promise this is relevant to what I'm doing. Fast forward 25 years and I feel like the world is meaner than ever. A lot of them are just supposedly bots that are trained for maximum engagement, which means that they create chaos and say mean things and start fights. It sucks to see news about horrible things that are happening. Even if I leave the internet and disengage with social media, there's no peace because my internal monologue, and I'm sure you can relate to this, is the meanest person that I know. Now, taking my art out in person to farmers markets, flea markets, art competitions, engaging with actual human beings, it's actually been a completely opposite experience. When I'm out in the world, people are unusually nice and enthusiastic towards crafters, and I don't know why we can't act that way towards retail workers. I don't know if it's because with art there is some vulnerability happening with sharing your stuff with the world, because people seem to open up in response. Everywhere I go with my art, I am awash with unearned gifts, whether those are compliments, personal stories, secrets, shared information, food, trinkets, arts and crafts, I've even made friendships. And listening to sort of creative or soul-feeding type of podcasts, there's a message. There have been messages warning us against giving up on humanity. But in order to make things better, we have to be able to envision it. And that even if I feel powerless to do anything that is globally meaningful and effective, that any small attempt or contribution is still way better than just discouraging others from trying. That is a really dramatic stretch to sitting down and making pretty art. But I think there was this underlying current of the hopelessness and those messages that made me originally want to do special delivery in the first place. Over the years of witnessing people being really kind to me for no reason at all these craft fairs from people I don't even know what their names are, and seeing how that's kind of like made me more optimistic and expecting better out of the people that I see every day, which is allowing me to be a little bit more open, more friendly, making their experience a lot better. I realize now that there is actually a lot of power in remembering what it feels like to care and to be cared for, to be thought of, to be careful about what kind of effect we're having in our own individual bubble. That's a lot to say about little animals delivering gifts to each other. Because it's not deep. There's no one out there who isn't going to immediately understand what I'm saying. And I guess that's why I did the boring thing, which is to make Special Delivery Part 2. Because I think that I needed it more this year than I even did last year. And I guess I'm just sharing this process in the story in case you needed it too. So partially because I've been away for a couple of weeks, I'm really behind in my summer goals. Haven't even started the calendar yet. Should I even do calendars? I don't know. Because let me tell you, with things that are going on in the United States, I haven't had an Etsy order all year. I kind of combined two things and did practice sketches for my Patreon sketches just to kind of get a better idea than those little thumbnails. So each one of these is probably going to be mailed out to my male patrons. One of the things that came to mind when I was camping was the idea of a huge picnic where maybe I would do like a big painting sometime. And I thought, like, what if my special delivery series, what if all of the characters became part of this story? Like maybe all the things that they are doing this year in this version is leading up into the Great Picnic. And so that sort of opened up the idea a little bit. So I have some environmental kind of like decor. Maybe the birds help plant some flowers to make this place look kind of pretty. Maybe I have one where the starlings are creating music and I would have bells. That's something I'm working on in a current painting, is I wanted to have bells hanging up from it to sort of incorporate sound with 2D art. I haven't finished that yet. These little bush tits are like literally weaving the picnic blankets, and so these are all ones that instead of just delivering gifts, they're sort of creating the gifts they're going to bring to the picnic and share with everyone to make the world a better place. Just for one moment. like this one. This little guy is delivering letters. And I'm probably going to title this one Sending My Love or something like that. I thought about the excitement of like getting a message from your best friend at like the perfect time, or getting a surprise piece of happy mail when you weren't expecting it, and then opening it up and it's full of little paper goodies. I love that. That's probably why my Happy Mail Patreon tier is still existing. And I thought in like the big picnic painting that I envisioned, there would be someone sitting under a tree reading like a letter, and I'm just like imagining like, oh, maybe it's a letter from their mother, a pen pal or something, and just like that feeling of feeling special and cared for. Thought about that idea of the birds weaving picnic blankets. I was originally just going to paint it, but I've been really having fun lately creating real life assemblages using actual objects instead of just painting them. For some reason, it sort of crosses this barrier from fantasy into like reality. It's kind of really exciting. I'm overstating that. It's exciting. And I thought that I'd give it a try to actually weave a tiny little picnic blanket. Going into almost zero research about how to do that, I kind of made this assumption that it would be almost identical to a bead loom, and it seems to mostly work. I'm not that good at it. I don't know, I think it's cool. This was like the most technically challenging one of them all. It was totally worth it. So here are all my tiny paintings. I think one of my favorites is probably the bicycle one and the weaving one, just for how fun and cool it was. Let me know what your favorite is in the comments. Normally I make 3 extra paintings for this so that I can post them online, but I don't have enough blocks But I do still have some left over from previous years, like this one from the Treasure series, and this is actually one of my favorites from the special delivery line last year. Although I should probably mention that United States Customs has decided to get rid of their $800 de minimis rule. So if you order something from Canada, where I am, there is a chance that you might have to pay a small percentage of duties on it, kind of getting the international mail experience. Just felt like I should mention that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye!